Hi everybody, welcome to the Sichos HaRan share. Tonight we're going to be doing Sikha number 54. This piece is very deep. It's more on the Kabbalistic realm, but we're going to do our best here to bring it down. It's going to speak about the neshama and about nefesh and ruach, but the main point of this piece is really about the incredible fact that no two things are the same in this world. So let's dive in. I'm going to get you the share screen. Okay. So here we are, 54. God does not do the same thing twice. Even when a soul is reincarnated, it is not completely the same. The soul has a level of nefesh and a level of ruach, and the two are never brought back in the same combination. A nefesh may be reincarnated, but always with a different ruach. The complete soul is not the same, for God does not do the same thing twice. Okay, so Hashem doesn't repeat. He doesn't do the same thing twice. Everything is completely unique in this world. Rebbe Nachman says even when a soul gets reincarnated, Hashem takes different combinations of nefesh, of ruach, and the neshama itself will never be exactly the same. So I guess let's discuss ruach and nefesh and neshama for a minute, just to understand a bit. Actually, Ish.com helped me with this. I found some good stuff there. So neshama comes from the word neshima, which means breath, and ruach means wind, and nefesh comes from the word nafash, which means rest. So Hashem giving us our neshama is like a glass blower forming a glass object. So the breath, neshama, leaves the glass blower's lips, and it travels as a wind, ruach, and then rest, nefesh, in the body or the glass object. So the neshama is the highest part. It's closest to Hashem. It's the part that's just leaving Hashem's lips, so to speak. And the ruach is kind of like the highway, like it's binding man to his spiritual source. Like it's keeping the neshama, the nefesh inside. The neshama is only affected by thought, and the ruach by speech, and the nefesh by action. So that's a little synopsis about nefesh, ruach, and neshama. And so just to bring it back to the original Sikha, Rebbe Nachman is telling us that none of these combinations of nefesh, ruach, and neshama are ever repeated. They're all fresh in every person. And, sometimes you'll see like a person who they seem like a lot more thought-oriented. And then other times you'll see somebody who's always, talking, lots of speech, maybe they have a lot of ruach in them. And then you'll see other people who are all nefesh, they're all action, like getting things done. And these are all like deep things, like different combinations that are happening in our neshamas, in our souls. So I wanted to bring in a very amazing Lekutey Halachos piece. Lekutey Halachos was written by Rebbe Nachman, which was Rebbe Nachman's main student. And this Lekutey Halachos piece is really incredible. And it honestly, it might forever change the way you say Shema. So I'm going to pull up the share screen. We're going to go to Lekutey Halachos Koshenu Mishpat, Prekia, Utina 4. Okay, so actually it is in Hebrew, but my husband, Sussman, was kind enough to translate it for me quickly. So this is his translation. It's not perfect. It's just kind of to get us through this piece. So just to be fair. Okay, so there's a great mitzvah to have children in order to increase Yisrael in every generation, and that all should believe in the oneness of God. The main differentiation in this world is a difference of opinion. Even though there are so many differences that cannot even be enumerated, like we mentioned. So just to rephrase this paragraph, so Rebbe Nachman is saying that it's a huge mitzvah to have children, to populate, the world, and to have more people believe in the oneness of Hashem, especially when there's so much differences and dissension in the world. To have people agree on the oneness of God is a big deal. So nevertheless, reading back inside, nevertheless, the main thing is the awesome amount of differentiation between people, that no one is similar to another person in their minds, faces, and actions. The main thing is the differentiation of opinions between people. This points to the greatness of God. So Rebbe Nachman is saying it's the most amazing thing that nothing is repeated. No two people look exactly alike. Even identical twins have differences, right? And no two people think exactly alike. From faces to actions to thoughts, like there are so many differences between people. And it really points to the creativity and the vastness of Hashem. Like, just thinking back when I was in grade school and I would doodle on my notes, like I always did the same doodle. Like there wasn't so much creativity, but like, if you think about like how every single thing in this world is different, it's mind-boggling, honestly. And as Rebbe Nachman says, it points to the greatness of God. The rule is God doesn't do the same thing twice. No creation is comparable to another. Neither is a person similar to another in his appearance and in his way of thinking. Therefore, there is no generation which is comparable to a previous one. Even a father and son's minds and opinions are very different from one another, which is something we can all sense. Even though they are similar in many regards, nevertheless, there are still many differences. So again, he's saying even a father and son who, they have a lot in common, but still they also have a lot of differences. From the beginning of creation until the end of time, there were never two people completely identical living at one time or from one generation to another. So there were never any two people that are completely identical in one generation, or even like 20 generations ago, there was never another you. Like every person is unique. It comes out, everything that was created in this world has been completely different since the beginning of time, as Hashem doesn't do the same thing twice. When all the happenings, continuing to read, when all the happenings in all the generations all agree on one thing and say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that Hashem is one, God is one, and they believe in the oneness of creation, this actually reveals God's oneness amongst the dissension in the world, which is very precious in God's eyes. So the fact that there's so many people and so many opinions and so many differences, but everybody comes together, or many of us come together and believe in this oneness of God, in the ultimate oneness, unity of God, right? So that is huge in Hashem's eyes. It's very precious in his eyes. Therefore, reading back inside, it's a big mitzvah to have children, because each child increases Hashem's oneness in the world amongst the diversity, right? Because each child is different. Each person is different. So there's a lot of diversity, but the children and soon to be adults, come together to declare Hashem's oneness. And it gives a lot of nachas to Hashem. Because when you declare God's oneness amongst the diversity and dissension, this glorifies God even more. So there's so many amazing talking points in this piece. But just to bring this down a bit, or just to recap it a bit, it's like he's just really emphasizing here how no two people think the same. Not a father, not a son. Like they'll agree on some things, but not everything. But when all, these people with all their differences come and declare Hashem's oneness, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Hashem gets a lot of joy from it. If you think about the shul that you daven in and how many different opinions there are about how COVID should be treated and the political situation and who to vote for, and maybe even the rabbi in the shul, all these different opinions and how this should be run and that should be run. But still, with all these differences, everyone comes together to declare Hashem's oneness. And, you know, that's a wild, amazing thing. And I think also, like, you know, if you think about Rosh Hashanah, you know, I've heard a lot of people, a lot of men who went there say, like, it's the most amazing thing. You see all different types of people there, but everyone davens together and everyone's, you know, there's no judgment. It's only unity. And it's like, you can only imagine, like, what an insanely uplifting thing that is, because all these people who are all totally different come together to be by the Rebbe and to daven to Hashem on Rosh Hashanah. Like, it really must be something so, so beautiful. Too bad so many people couldn't go this year, but that's a side point, right? So, so another point that we could bring out from this piece, which I think is a huge point, is clearly Hashem likes all our differences. He likes that everybody's different. He doesn't want us all being the same, and he doesn't want everyone to look and think the same way. He likes that people are unique and have differences. This is the way he made it, you know? And then to claim him as one. Such a big deal, and it's so obvious, but I think, you know, we get caught up and we completely ignore it. Like, I'll just talk about myself. Like, you know, even there's somebody at work who, you know, she could be kind of sensitive very often, you know, and I'm sometimes in my head, I'm thinking, like, all right, you know, get a grip. Like, it's not such, like, why can't you be more like me, you know? But really, the reason why she's not more like me is because Hashem didn't want her to be like me, and Hashem wanted me to be like me, and her to be like her, and we're all meant to be different. And, like, it just, you know, we should use this as a constant reminder that Hashem loves his ascension. He doesn't expect us all to think the same and be the same way. He loves us. And the whole point is to come with all our differences and yet declare and just agree on one thing. All we have to agree on is one thing, that Hashem is one. He's the ruler. Everything is from him, and everything is a part of him. That's it. So, I mean, that's just a huge point and very, very powerful piece. So, okay. So I wanted to bring in one more piece from Leuktey Maharan that discusses people's uniquenesses and differences. So this is in the first Leuktey Maharan, Torah 34, section 4. I'm really reading just a small part of it, but I think, you know, it's just going to emphasize this point a little more. So, okay. Oh, and I'm reading some footnotes too. Okay. So now each and every Jew possesses, oh, sorry, we're going to start here. For in every Jew, there is something precious, an aspect of a Nekuda which his friend does not have, right? So every person has something unique that his friend doesn't have. Every person has something unique in them. As in the story of Abaye and Abba Umna. We're going to get into that story, where they answered him, your deeds do not match those of Abba Umna, from Tanit 21b. And with this aspect in which he surpasses his friend, he influences, enlightens, and inspires his friend's heart. And his friend has to receive inspiration and this aspect from him, as in Targum Yeshaya 6:3, one receives from the other. So I'm just going to go back up to the footnote. There's a footnote from also Lekutey Halachos, which is beautiful. So, right, so we're saying in every Jew, there's something precious. There's something like in the person that his friend does not have, that only belongs to him. So Rebbe Nachman, so they bring in this footnote here, 25, something precious. Rebbe Nachman explains that each Jew's unique nekudas is his neshama, his precious soul, Torah Natan 11. That is, each person is unique in his own right and must develop according to his ability and capabilities. One should therefore not attempt to mimic another's devotions in service of God, for the path may not be the one he should take. Each person must develop and utilize his own strengths. Rebbe Nachman now expands this thought, right? So a person They shouldn't copy somebody else. They shouldn't try to be like somebody else. You're your own person with your own abilities and capabilities and your own uniqueness, and that's how you're meant to serve Hashem. And we're going to also read the footnote about Abaye and Abba Amna right now. So just to retell this whole story. So Abaye, dean of Yeshiva Naharadia, was renowned as one of the most outstanding Talmudic sages. Abba Amna was a doctor whose chief expertise was phlebotomy, bloodletting. The Talmud relates that every day, in recognition of his good deeds, a heavenly voice would call out, "Peace to Abba Amna." Abaye, however, would only hear a heavenly voice calling to him in peace on the eve of Shabbos. Abaye was disheartened. He was a leading figure of Babylonian Jewry, whereas Abba Amna was but a common doctor. The answer Abaye received was that although he was a towering figure of his generation, his deeds, considering his spiritual level, could not match those of Abba Amna's on his level. Rebbe Nachman learns from this passage that each individual has a very precious nekuda that is uniquely his. In this nekuda, he's a tzaddik, an aspect of Milupam. So this story, just to recap it a little bit, so Abaye was, the big Rosh Yeshiva in Nahardia, and he was upset because he would only get a heavenly voice that would come to him Friday night, and Abba Amna, who was a doctor, would get, this heavenly voice that would come to him every day. But, it was told to Abaye that the reason why Abba Amna got this heavenly voice every day, because he really lived to his fullest potential of, in his role as a doctor, he was a tzaddik from the bloodletting, and I'm sure through many of his other deeds. So, like every person has, again, this is just drawing out that every person has their own unique role. And in that role, they could really grow to such high levels. And it's just important for us to really tap into our capabilities, which are only personal to us. So just to do a final recap, we learned in Sichos 54 that Hashem never does the same thing twice, and he never creates the same combination of person twice. Everybody's different. And then in Lekutey Halachos, we learned that Hashem loves how no two people think the same or are the same, but everyone comes together to proclaim his oneness. And in Leuktey Maharan, we learned that each person is unique and has to serve Hashem through his own unique talents, strengths, and weaknesses. So I just want to give us all a bracha that we all live to our fullest potentials and we accomplish our own unique mission that we were destined for. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and have a great night.